Union of the Unknowns, a podcast dedicated to the exploration of modern culture, presents a weekly digest of current events that may have slipped past your radar. This is not your mama's news. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Not Your Mama's News, presented by the Union of the Unknowns. I'm your host tonight, Keel Thor. With me are the Unknowns. She's a woman of high sophistication, Ashley Think, Change, Repeat.
Hello.
She's a true Sheila from the land down under, StellaQ.
True Blue. G'day.
And he's the British volcano buster, Terry Canary.
Good evening, world.
Good evening, all. On Not Your Mama's News, as you all already know, we like to bring you high-quality news and information from around the globe that showcases the clown world in which we live. Tonight, we've got a full panel and a full set of stories. So, Terry, take it away.
Yes. Did you pick me because I'm the one that hasn't really got a story? So I haven't really done much prep for this, but I thought I'd talk a bit about Ukraine. So I thought it was quite good that Trump chucked Zelenskyy out on his ear the other day, and now he's cut off his funding. And it looks like Europe are going to try and take up the slack, which I don't really think they're capable of because their economy's down the toilet, basically, partly because they've cut off all, Russian gas and things like that. So they've kind of got delusions of grandeur that they think, Starmer, the crazy British charisma-free leader that we've got at the moment, is even talking about putting British troops on the ground. And if anyone knows about the British Armed Forces these days, they're just not up to the job. So I think he's kind of delusional about that. So it could end up being a very good thing if Europe tries to sort of support Ukraine on their own. I think it might actually bring down the EU and the euro, and so we might end up with lots of good things happening. All these Euro tyrants getting chucked out in elections. If they have elections, because of course in Romania, as we talked about recently, the elected president, they said we're not recognizing the election because of Russian interference, and it turned out it was internal interference. And now they've arrested this guy and rounded up a lot of his followers as well. So seemingly that if you vote for the wrong person, you're not going to get him or her to get in power because they don't really want that. So lots of interesting things happening. So really, we're all hoping for peace in Ukraine. I think we've had enough people killed over there. Sorry, over to you, Keel.
Yeah, we've got a new player has entered the game. America's sweetheart, Ismkant, is with us now. But to your stories there, you mentioned the British military is not what it used to be. So are you suggesting that the era of British colonialism and world empire is finally drawing to a conclusion?
It's a very interesting question. Some people would say that Britain is still running the show behind the scenes, that they're kind of even directing America to do their bidding. And there's a sort of saying that the Vatican is like the spiritual center, and the Brits are like the sort of spine and intelligence center, and the US supply the sort of muscle to enforce the policies around the world. I'm not sure I really believe that. I think Britain's a bit of a crap place these days, and it was a sort of the same path the US was on, and it looks like Trump might be, maybe if we believe him, he might be trying to sort of reverse some of these things that have been destroying European countries, like this huge amount of immigration and breaking up the culture and and spending ridiculous amounts of money on arms to Ukraine, which is probably not going to Ukraine. A lot of it seems to be ended up in the hands of terrorists and money laundering schemes. So yeah,
That's what war has always been about. It's just business, just doing business.
totally.
Yeah, war
I
is a
believe-
racket.
Yeah,
What's the
I
old
believe
saying?
Australia is sending some troops too.
All wars are bankers' wars.
I saw that.
Is that still a valid statement?
100%.
Very true.
I would say
Very
so.
So, and I just wanted to throw in there, that we did all see the meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Trump and JD Vance. That clip went viral of them kind of talking him down and basically telling him, that he wasn't grateful. You don't have the cards. You don't have the cards. And so I think it was an interesting thing. And I was speaking to one of my friends, shout out SW, about this, that this meeting was the meeting that was televised, right? It was out there for everybody to see, but the meeting that Trump had with Vladimir Putin was not for public consumption. So I thought that was interesting. And, he had made the point that perhaps it was theater, maybe, and it could be on a spectrum of how much was staged, how much was not staged, or whatever, but basically that it's kind of part of Trump's MO, the art of the deal. And so I thought that was an interesting bullet point in this whole thing. And the United States has, according to Trump, paused all foreign aid assistance to Ukraine. Now, what they didn't say was we're not giving any, it's just paused. So I agree with you, Terry, that I'm curious to see how it's going to go. And the other thing that I wanted to add is, they refer to it as the Anglo-American establishment. And I think it's a valid point that perhaps there is some control, at least from maybe the royal perspective, because we know that they are part of the predator class. And then the other thing is that we cannot count out our greatest ally, right? They're the largest welfare recipients on planet Earth from America. And they definitely seem to have a lot of sway in what America does. So just wanted to point
I'd just
them
like
out.
to give a little shout out to your Trump impression. It's quite good for a chick, which makes you a Trumpette.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's good.
I thought that that press conference was mildly entertaining, but I didn't quite get where it very well probably was staged or whatever, but I didn't get the it didn't seem what Zelenskyy said didn't bother me, apparently, like it supposedly supposed to have bothered Trump and JD Vance and caused the ruckus, but I don't know, it was just dumb. I mean, maybe he should have minded his tongue and in the Oval Office, but I didn't see where the big controversy was. Terry.
I was just going to say there's apparently a 50-minute version of that video, and I haven't watched it all, but I have heard from people who've watched it all said that he was kind of needling them continuously, throughout the whole thing, and finally they just got a bit fed up with him.
I watched the whole thing, and it was very mild. I think the point where the controversy comes in is when Zelenskyy says, you have a big ocean between you and Ukraine and Russia, but you're gonna feel the pressure eventually. Your people will feel it too, and that's when Trump kind of was like, no, don't you tell us what we'll feel. And I get that kind of reaction, but then him and JD Vance just kept like pushing it, and he's like, you need to. JD Vance says you need to you need to say thank you. You need to be more appreciative of our
Be
support,
grateful, yeah.
and be grateful. And I was like, did it really need that much of a response? I think it was overblown, but staged probably.
I don't think there's any probablys about it. It's all theatre.
Yeah.
Full stop. Well, period. Whatever you guys say.
I don't think those guys are good enough
The
actors
thing is,
to be scripted, but I think probably ahead of time. Yeah, Zelenskyy probably told him, "Hey, why don't you say this, and then we can have a scuffle," prompted something like that.
Zelenskyy would wind me up no end. He's such a little twat, isn't he? He always turns up in his combat fatigues, and he's always asking for more money.
I wish he'd turned up in his high heels for that one. I would love to see him with his high heels for that meeting. Yeah,
it was funny in the
piano
full
with his
clip.
penis.
yes.
The full 40
Shove it on the
clip,
Oval Office desk. No worries.
They're taking questions from reporters, and one of the guys asks Zelenskyy, "Hey, do you own a suit? Because you're always dressed in these frumpy clothes." and
Green t-shirt.
And he was like, "Oh, I have more important things to think about. I don't need to. I have a suit, yes, it's very nice, but this is a time of war." And he rambled on about it, but I thought it was hilarious that somebody actually asked him that.
Obviously,
That's
the wardrobe.
that's
The
what
wardrobe
Trump said.
department didn't get any aid. Sorry,
Yeah.
there's a bit of a delay with Terry.
That's what Trump. The first thing Trump says to him when he turns up at the White House, he says something like, "I see you dressed up for the occasion." He's sort of sending him up in the way that Trump does.
Yeah, he's an incredible troll. And I do want to point out that Keel said, "I don't think they're good enough actors," but Trump was a reality TV star before all of this. From his, he was a big personality, very well known, before he got the reality TV show. Then he was on The Apprentice, and he was also involved in the WWE, so he's always been an incredible entertainer. He's off the cuff. We know that. Then we also know that Zelenskyy was a professional actor. He was literally in a TV show. So
yeah, I wouldn't disagree that Zelenskyy had a script maybe, but I think Trump just does Trump. You could tell Trump what to say, and he'll just say it with his Trump. I'm just saying.
Yeah, because he's so good. He's so excellent at improv, basically. In our days of watching the Propaganda Report, Brad talked about improv all the time. And I would say that maybe he would agree that Trump is a master of improvisation.
Yeah. So I guess when I'm saying I don't know if it was scripted, I mean,
He's a funny
I don't
guy.
think everything they say is written down and they memorized a script and they rehearsed it behind stage and then they came out and there were cameras rolling. That's what I'm saying. I doubt that sort of thing happened, but the fact that the conflict was contrived and all that stuff is probably.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them to probably, fill them in a couple of days before. It's like, this is how we want it to go. And there's probably, a fair bit of improv in there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why these people are
that.
actors, because they do have that skill. That's why they put them there, I mean, there's been quite a few actors in political sort of arenas, hasn't there? I mean, Reagan, there's another one.
Sure.
Off the top of my head.
It's all about presentation and public speaking.
Not particularly good actor.
If you're good at doing that, they can feed you, bullet points and lines. But you watch Trump give a speech, and there's clearly moments when he's just reading from the teleprompter in his perfectly good, public speaking way. But then he'll go and improv some shit that he wants to say as a part of it, and that's his doing his Trump thing. So,
Yeah, and I mean, they've all had the training. They all do the thing where they come out and they'll point at someone in the audience. I mean, that's a typical move, isn't it? It's like, oh, familiar. Yeah, hey.
Such a
he
such
pointed
a
at me.
douchey thing to do. Like, you're not pointing at anybody. You're not pointing at,
You don't know that bloke.
You're that guy who lives in the cul-de-sac down the street from you. Oh, hey, there you are. I see you. Hey, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up. No, he's not pointing at anybody.
Hey.
One other thing. I heard a comment from somebody on a podcast somewhere, and I can't remember who it was, of some knowledge and authority, say that Europe's the totality of Europe's contribution to Ukraine was actually more than what the United States' contribution has been, not by a lot, but it's more. And we always hear about the U.S. Trump said it like 500 times, in every speech that he talks about it. It's like, we contribute so much more than Europe, and I'm not sure that that's true, and I don't know if we really know. It seems like the U.S. would have to be more, at least in military aid. Just by if you broke it down by that would be more, maybe. I don't know.
I don't have the numbers. I just know that every time I turned around, there was
like hundreds of billions of dollars over the course. Is it, or am I misunderstanding everything I hear?
So, I'm actually having Grok pull the numbers now.
Oh, that's reliable.
You don't need the numbers; just make them up. They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 86% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
I did know that.
All right.
Yeah, it felt like
say?
every time we turned around, though, there was another announcement, and this was during Biden's tenure, that there was another $1 billion package. I mean, it felt like, and I mean several billion, every single week. It felt like it was insane, and it was also juxtaposed with food prices here in the United States doubling, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is that you've got to trust that they're telling you. I mean, I did start to wonder if, are they really giving all this money over, or are they just telling you? Because they do want the reactionary thing to go on. And, I mean, none of it's legit. The money just gets laundered around, by the other people that are actually running the place. Like you said before, I don't think it's even really, England or Britain. It's, the powers that shouldn't be behind the curtain sort of thing. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't believe really any of it. I think a lot of it is just, it's pretty much theatre, and it's just put out there to get the reactions and get us all fighting.
Yeah, and one quick note on that point. I saw a tweet from Really Graceful this week that I thought was, fair. And basically she's like, they tell us that we have a $30 trillion debt, but I just don't even believe it anymore, because what does it matter? Like they make up the numbers, they print the numbers, they inflate the money, they whatever. Like if they can just print it, then they can just delete it. And
exactly.
I'm paraphrasing, but I just thought it was like an interesting concept, and likely that is what will happen when and if, probably not if, but when a financial transition happens from, away from paper money. If we're doing digital, if we're doing blockchain or whatever, then it'll just be, changed over to that, or just deleted or whatever.
Yeah, well, I mean, the fiat system means absolutely nothing. We may as well be trading in gummy bears. It doesn't matter.
I'd argue gummy bears have more value than the dollar.
Very true.
Yeah, they do. And they actually, if they have a minimal amount of ingredients, they can actually be a health food because of the gelatin used to create them.
Not if you're a horse.
It was probably bovine, I hope.
I'm getting an update. This just in.
Somebody's fingernails.
Numbers from the aid to Ukraine. I'm looking at $120 billion from the United States and $170 billion from Europe as a whole. And that's from the very start of Russia's full-scale invasion.
That feels low to me.
Yeah.
On both ends.
That's peanuts.
Go ahead, Terry.
I have a small contribution to make. I think when it comes to NATO, I do think the US is paying more money than the rest of NATO.
Oh, sure.
And some of that NATO money is for sure getting channeled to Ukraine.
I'm sure that they're both like, you can argue it either way and be right, depending on what you're considering as money from what and who, you know?
Right.
Like, it's all fungible.
Yeah.
And we know, by the way, that Zelenskyy has bought a load of expensive properties all around Europe. So I'm sure that's come from the funds somewhere.
Yeah. So it's all fake and probably gay. Who knows?
And gay.
We don't have a gaydar to test it with.
Gay can flame.
Justin does.
We could round up every story with that, couldn't we?
Sure. Ashley, what story have you got? I know you've got stories prepared. Probably the only prepared person on this panel tonight.
Oh, I'm prepared.
When Justin says, "Oh, I'm prepared," I get nervous.
Yes.
As one should.
Yeah, me too.
It's if there's one person on this panel that should be nervous. I won't mention who yet.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Oh, God.
So this is a quick story, but it stood out to me for a couple of reasons because I think it has serious implications for where we go from here. So this is a story from Zero Hedge. It is the Air Force recruitment soars. Get it? It soars to a 15-year high, officials say. Air Force Chief of Staff General David Alvin announced on March 3rd that recruiting numbers over the past 3 months, December through February, were the strongest in a decade and a half. And here's a quote from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Americans are excited to serve their country again. The next generation of the American warfighter will be joining the greatest fighting force the world has ever known, he said on an X post. And then the other thing that stuck out to me, Stella will appreciate this, for 2025, the Air Force is aiming to bring in 33,100 active duty personnel.
What do you know?
Nice.
What do you know?
Out of
What do you
all
know?
those numbers.
Stella's favorite.
So the reason that I think that this is important is a couple of things, or the implications that it has. First of all, I think that we knew during times when the woke mindset was really out of control, and it is to an extent. However, Justin has said this before, but there is a swing back. There's people that are actively, they're tired of woke. It's becoming more acceptable to be the opposite of woke. We know the pendulum swings. So certainly with Trump being put in the office, it has changed that. And he obviously has, there was sort of this idea that he's getting in there. He has all these executive orders. He's changing things. And, I think inspired this new patriotism, this new nationalism that we're seeing that could contribute to this, to these numbers, to people increasing their participation in the military again, where it had been declining for a long time. They also had some other things that they put in place in order to get, to sort of push back on things that actually happened during Trump's tenure. Okay. The military was woke in Trump's tenure. The military had vaccine mandates during Trump's tenure. However, as soon as he got into office, that changed the second time, right? They said, now people are going to get back pay. They can come back if they want to. And they sort of reversed. So it was, basically an artificial manufacture of like Trump's back. Now we're back on track, even though a lot of this happened under his watch. So that's the first thing that I think is interesting, and that we see this rise in sort of nationalism. And I think we'll probably continue to see reports like this of military recruitment continuing to increase. And I also, it honestly makes me a little bit nervous because I feel like I'm sure that nobody who is considering signing up for the military is watching us. But if you do, please reconsider. Not you, Keel. I think you might be too old.
I mean, you don't want to go
want
fight
Vikings.
for Israel.
That's it.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. You do not want to fight and die for Israel. That's the bottom line. And I think that it's a real risk. And the other thing that people need to consider is that there is, there's this stat about I don't even know, I should have this in front of me, but basically there's a very high rate of suicide among former veterans. And I think that part of that is because obviously seeing your fellow, the people that are your family, your fellow troops, seeing something bad happen to them is obviously very damaging, very traumatic. But I also think that there's an element of, and this is pure speculation on my part, but a realization of what did I do that for? Because we don't know exactly what they had to do. But I think that when they get back and they kind of realize, maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. And I think that there's some regret there. So I think that's concerning. The other thing that I think is interesting about this is that we started to see leading up to this. So there's very famous, what they refer to as e-girls, but they are military women that are making TikToks. And yes, that's it. They're psyops.
Oh, yeah.
But they make it look like a day in the life of the military, and it's a really beautiful girl, like influencer type looks and aesthetic, and they've got the editing to make the TikTok video really catchy. So this started a couple of years ago, and then you have continued to see some of the other military commercials, and people made a meme out of this. But basically the joke is that if you see white people again, like a white male, like the traditional soldier again in military commercials, then you know that it's serious, because it would just simply be an indicator that we're moving away from a woke or DEI type perspective. So I think that that's interesting. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out about this is that when this past weekend, I was talking to Jason Barker on Knights of the Storm, and there was a rancher that was killed in the Mexican border on the Mexico side. But basically they have recently, Trump designated the gang or the cartels in Mexico as terrorist organizations. So all of this to say is that I think there's potential ramp up for a reason, is what I'm saying. And I think that they're trying to potentially bring maybe some active combat to our border here. And we know that with the immigration issue, they also wanted to start doing like basically a digital ID, a biometric kind of recognition. So I just thought that this story kind of tied in as another little thread in as Monica would say, what to watch out for.
Yeah, it makes sense because Trump is just a populist. And if we're to believe any of this is actually real, but he's very popular because he just clings on to whatever he can. He can see what's coming pretty well, and that's what he bases his platform on, his campaign.
Are you saying he plays 4D chess?
No, I'm not saying he probably has never heard of 4D chess, but that's always been his thing though. His public persona is that he's a populist. That's his thing. So he's going to change whatever the policies are to fit whatever the current trend is, and that's why he gets all the votes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I still believe that
part
it's
of the flavor.
I still believe that they get worded up. I mean, that's the reason why he knows what's coming, sort of thing. Apart, it's not just because he's a good businessman; it's because he's he's a puppet. He's playing along, playing his role, what have you. But I mean, the reason that everything had to get so madly out of control, like extremely stupid and ridiculous. I mean, who could have thought up drag queen story time or that sort of thing? I mean, the reason it had to go to that extreme is to make his swing back so powerful and, milk it to the max sort of thing. So,
sure.
Thank goodness we're past that stage, but I still can't look. I look back and just think, what the hell? But how many people went along with it all too? That's insane.
Way too many.
That was the scariest bit, actually. But yeah, extreme pendulum swing requires an extreme to come from, Yeah.
Terry?
I have a couple of things to say. Firstly, about the military thing that Ashley was talking about. there was a survey, I think, done by the US Army at the end of World War II, and they were kind of the top brass were kind of horrified to find that most of the soldiers were deliberately not shooting to kill their enemies, and they thought, we can't have this. So they instituted this program to sort of turn them into psychopathic killers. And I think that's why a lot of them, since those days, have had a lot of trouble adjusting back to civilian life, because they're kind of doing an MK Ultra on them in the military to turn them into these sort of psycho killers, and they find it very difficult to adjust back to civilian life. And the other thing I was going to say, somewhat perhaps more controversial, that having seen what the globalist wannabes were trying to achieve, for example, during COVID, I think I might take nationalism and populism over that these days. I think that might be a better option, because I used to, in my younger days, I used to think maybe a sort of world government would be a good thing, in that, you wouldn't have any wars and it would all be lovely and peaceful and like utopian. But the trouble is, you're going to have the same psychos running things that and at least with nation states and sort of nationalist leaders popping up from time to time, you might have a chance of someone going against that sort of flow. Whereas, the globalist Klaus Schwab WEF vision of society sounds pretty horrific, really, doesn't it? So anyway, that's just a thought I thought I'd throw out there.
It's funny because if you look back on basically all of the worst, like, tragedies that humans have committed upon ourselves, just about every single time it starts with, for the greater good, we have to do X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
that's how they get you.
Yeah.
And national security.
It's the classic, well, you had me at the first part. But as far as Trump goes, like, I'm sure he is all fake and gay, and they might be overplaying their hand because, like, it's the pendulum swinging, yes, but he's shifting the entire Overton window. We're talking about auditing the Fed, ending the Department of Education, just gutting massive amounts of federal employees. I mean, it's once you because the thing with the Republicans, like the mainstream Republicans, is that they're going to do what Fox News tells them. And if Fox News accidentally brings them back to the Constitution, I think something might click, and then, they might start looking around. I don't know. I think they might be overplaying their hand.
Yeah,
they're doing exactly. They are doing. They've just got some fun characters now, like the muskrat, etc. They're just bringing in exactly what we don't want them to bring in, but they're just making it look fun. Like they're setting everything up for AI. I mean, they're getting rid of a whole bunch of humans, and everyone's going, "Yay!" And it's like, well, no, not yay, because you don't seem to understand what they're actually doing. Like, stop cheering for these people. I can't believe how Elon's. I mean, don't people see through that man? If he's a man, assuming he's a man. But anyway, I just wanted to also just quickly address something.
I think I might.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sorry, Karen. Well, I was just going to say, I think I might take AI over some of these retarded humans that have been running things for the last few years.
The problem is that the retards are going to be embedded into the AI.
Yeah. What happens when AI gets all retarded?
And that is true. That is very true.
AI to be extremely valuable tool.
That's what happens when you get Terminator 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to chime in about. As far as that goes, I obviously, if you're an ANCAP or whatever you want to say, and you see, and you have been aware of government corruption and government bloat and pork and wastefulness and, stealing our money for things that don't matter. It is very gratifying to see these things happen, like getting rid of the Department of Education potentially, and we're gutting this and we're gutting that. But yeah, for me, what concerns me is what is behind that, So I think we know, like, we're talking about AI, but then when you go even a level deeper than that, perhaps, then we have, like, for example, here in the States, we have 500 billion that was committed for Project Stargate. And then you look at the people that are in charge of that project and what type of rhetoric they're speaking. So that would be the founder and the CEO of Oracle, Larry Ellison, I think is his name.
Yeah, that's his name. Yep.
Yeah.
He's creepy, that guy.
Yeah. And so we see that there's sort of this ilk of what we have come to know of the predator class, which is they appear to want to try to live forever. They appear to be complete psychopaths. They appear to, really buy into the technocratic talking points of, hacking human biology, living forever, digital twins, things like that. And then they have this kind of money. And then you see him in videos and he's talking about, well, we won't need to have a dangerous police chase because we'll just chase them with a drone and things like that. So on one hand, yes, it's really cool to see things that we know are corrupt and bad being addressed. But for me, I have absolutely a serious concern about what they intend to backfill that with.
Justin.
Can I do a quick reply? And because I don't disagree with a single thing that you said, my white pill moment is that I don't view these people nearly to be as impressive and intelligent and suave as they think they are. And I think that they are just hanging on by a thread of it's only going to take a fraction of amount of American citizens to, like, it's not even going to take half of America to realize what's actually happening, and they're going to be fleeing the country because motherfuckers are going to get the guillotines out. Like, I don't think that's right around the corner or anything. I think that they know that if everything that they do doesn't go perfectly, that is their future that they're looking at. And these elites are fucking not impressive. I mean, they're impressive in that they have unimaginable amounts of money and power, but as far as they just aren't smart people.
Well, Silicon Valley is pretty much running the joint now. But I mean, it is literally, it's a human race because they're trying to get us tied up into all the technocracies. So because that's the only way they can do it, really. I don't think that without the tech, they wouldn't be able to have this hold over the world, basically. So that they sort of had to get that firmly in place and get us, sucking off the nipple of technocrats, which we all do willingly. Before they have even a chance of winning. So it is really a race. It's a race between people realizing what's actually happening. Let's hope more and more do. I believe there is a lot more people are seeing it, but whether it's enough in time is the question. So it is literally a race. They're trying to get everyone tied up and controlled before everyone goes, wait a minute. Just a darn minute there.
Yeah. That's echoes through time. Right? It's always been that power struggle.
Yeah, but they've never had the technocracy before that we know of. Maybe they have. Maybe.
Right. It could have happened and collapsed, and here we go again. And one quick thing on that I wanted to say back to Justin as a counterpoint. I don't disagree with that either. And I'm not black pill, right? Like, I feel like we're here at this time hopefully for a reason, right? And I just don't I don't know. I'm just not black-pilled. I feel like I understand the motivation behind things that appear to be wins or delicious candy, as Terry and I talked about. And but overall, I'm not black-pilled, but I'm just hopeful for humans, or I'm hopeful that things are going to work out how they're supposed to work out. You know, if you believe in God, then, and I do, then I believe that there's a path for humanity. And whether or not it works out how we think it will or not, you know, who's to say? But on the other hand, of just in a material sense of what Justin said, that I agree that these people are not impressive in so many ways. The problem is when you are in the quote big club and you have unlimited money, literally unlimited money, and you're above the law because you own everybody, then even if you're not that impressive, as long as you're a psychopath, then you're going to have protection for your, you know, for your murderous tendencies and your, like, they despise humanity, and they will have protection from that because they run and own the systems.
But then that's what I was saying. Like, it's gonna take so few people in America to wake up before the guillotines start coming out, and they have to know in the back of their head that when it, like, they know what their winning is, and they know that's their losing.
They say that revolutions are conducted by like 5% of the population, or at most, and they're scared of us because there are a lot more of us than there are of them. And like Justin says, if they weren't scared of us, they wouldn't try to propagandize us so much.
Yeah, I guess you're right there. I mean, obviously you're right, because I mean, they had to disarm Australia, and I can't believe they actually. I mean, we're not fully disarmed. Let's get that straight. We're not fully disarmed. I mean, I know plenty of people who still got their gun licenses, etc., but it's all very heavily regulated, let's say, and they can, they have the powers to come in at any time and check and make sure your guns. We have to have. I don't know about you guys, but we have to have the guns stored in a particular dimension. Specifications of a gun cabinet, and the ammunition has to be stored separately in another lockup cabinet away from the gun, and no loaded barrels or anything like that. Oh no! So in an emergency, it's just like, just one sec. So it's a bit of a problem.
I actually watched a quick video of someone at a gun range in Australia, and it's literally a pistol that is on like a grid that's like, vertical and horizontal, so that you can't actually hold the gun. Like, it's on a guide system, and you have to just kind of like move it to where you want, then you can pull the trigger.
Huh? What's the point of that bullshit? So, Stella, do you have to, when you want to own a gun, do you have to like file an application and provide like a legitimate reason to the state for owning it? Like, I know that's a thing in some other countries in Europe where you have to only certain, you have to have a reason, like you're a regular hunter and you, or whatever the case may be. But is that the way it is down there?
Absolutely. Yep. There's a few papers you got to fill out. You got to have a full psychological check. You've got to, you have to know somebody that has a certain amount of acres of land. If you don't yourself. That gives you permission to shoot, in that place. Or if you've got, I don't think you can have pistols at home either. You've got to, like, you can only have them, well, obviously, if you've got a full license like a policeman or something, but just normal people who do it for sport, they have to leave their pistols, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me 100%, but I'm pretty sure, unless they've changed it, you got to have the pistol like at the gun place where you go shooting, you can't take them home. So there's that. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So, like, I had my gun license and I let it lapse. Damn it. And then that was exactly around the time, it must have been after Port Arthur, where then all these full-on regulations came in, and it was like, you know what? I'm about to move. What's the point? I'm not going to need a gun in the city. Ha ha. I mean, I probably wouldn't have been able to take the gun interstate. I don't know how it works.
And that's probably for the best too, because the people that are on the gun registry are the first they're going to come for.
Yeah, they know
What
exactly where
about-
everyone is. Yeah, they know. Where
Right. But what about 3D printers? Because unless you make 3D printers illegal, you like anyone can make a gun.
Yep. And surely, like out deep in the outback, they kind of look the other way, right? People can own guns, maybe.
Or at least boomerangs.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, I
with
heard those were
boomerangs
illegal
and
down there.
woomerers. Yeah.
Woomerers, yeah. It is Woomera, by the way. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's
Thank you very much.
you look at the list of I mean, you've got to look per state, but they're all pretty much the same now. If you look at the list of banned weaponry, it's like, really? That? I wish I could think of an example, but I'll tell you what. The South Australian, I think it was, I looked it up, and Freemasons are allowed to have daggers. It literally says that.
Wow.
Is that like a
In
religion?
the allowed artillery.
Ceremonial.
Well, because they
daggers,
do their
Artillery.
ceremonies, and it
the
actually
bloodletting.
names them. Yeah.
Did you say they're allowed artillery? They're allowed
Well, they're
artillery.
daggers in the allowed artillery list, like permitted artillery. Who
Oh,
can
the
have
allowed
what?
artillery. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Keel always tries to send Stella links for self-defense items.
I mean, they're not even firearms. They're just
like mace
like
and
an
stuff. We're not even allowed
airsoft-
to have that.
Yeah, like a big blocky fluorescent orange airsoft pistol that you have to,
Can
cock
you have,
every time, and it just shoots like a.
trebuchet?
Can't even
Yeah,
have air
trebuchet.
rifles.
Can
You're
you have
not
a
even allowed to have
trebuchet?
air
That'd
rifles.
be pretty cool.
That's ridiculous.
You're probably not even allowed to have a fire on your arm.
Look, they're going to ban sticks. They're going to ban sticks next. Sticks and
Pointed
rocks.
sticks.
Yeah.
Well,
that
Surprising
could
we're
be
allowed to find
convenient.
butter knives.
There's
That
the
could-
joke.
What about a pointed stick?
That's right. Terry got it.
Come back and I'll bite you.
Yeah.
There's a joke that I have told Terry about. Basically, there's a meme out there that's talking about in the UK because they did away with guns there, and now they have all kinds of knife violence. So we see, right? And so the meme is basically, "Oi, bruv, you got a permit for that butter knife?"
Right.
And it's like that's how it's getting. So you do away with guns there, and now you have knife violence, and now we want to have knife permits. It's insane. Go ahead, Terry.
All the knives. Sorry, just quickly. All the knives are behind lock and key over here
sorry.
as well, and paint cans.
Oh, bloody hell. Someone was proposing, an MP, I think, was proposing in the Houses of Parliament in the UK that they were going to take the points off knives and make them all round ended.
Oh yeah,
they
I
didn't
saw
want
that.
Sort of stabby knives. I mean,
I
the
could-
UK
I
has
could-
just gone ridiculous.
That's fucked up, is what it is.
Well,
on, guys.
my best mate, his sister was a emergency room nurse for many years, and I always remember this story. Is how like she was sitting at the desk or whatever, and she's doing paperwork, and she just hears this guy come in and just go, "I need a doctor." And she's just going, "Well, you just take a seat." And then she looked up, and there's this guy standing there with a butter knife sticking out of his throat. He'd done it to himself.
Wow.
So it's like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
yeah. So they can be dangerous, but then sharp pencil
sure.
could stab someone too, couldn't it? So
Yeah.
A blunt pencil could stab someone.
true. Someone who's very angry, yes. Terry.
Terry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm going to round off this story by an impressive achievement I did in the sixth form of my school when I took a very blunt school kitchen knife and managed to fling it into a blackboard from about 12 feet away. So, yeah, they can be dangerous. So I'd have taken somebody out with that, no problem.
Yeah, right.
Very good.
Well, their eyeball.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about artificial, AI and stuff too. I've got a kind of a related story here. Engineers at Johns Hopkins, our favorite university, have developed a new prosthetic hand that the design allows it to handle objects as gently as a human's touch. And they gave it several different items, and it like from plush dolls to, rigid metal bottles and stuff like that, and plastic cups, and it just picks it up, whatever it is, just like a human's hand. And I know this is a story that's probably very exciting to certain people for advancement in various robotics applications.
Froggy emoji.
Are you looking at Justin?
I'll let can flesh that idea out.
Flesh that out, indeed. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it was developed by the same neuroengineering and biomedical instrumentations lab in 2018 developed electronic skin with a human-like sense of pain. So in the story, they say these can be applied to people who need prosthetic limbs, and apparently the hand can be controlled with motions in the forearm and stuff like that. Terry,
Let's make pain great again.
Yes.
Can I ask, is this the same John Hopkins University that famously came out with all those studies saying that the COVID vaccine was very safe and effective?
Yes, that would be the same one, John Hopkins.
There we go.
So
okay, I have a question for collecting unfiltered news tube service. Do you think that AI is really being rolled out as it's developing? Because my theory is that we're just getting the dregs rolled out in a very controlled way, and they've had it for years, operating extremely. They're into the quantum stuff and everything now, so who knows where that's going to go. But so, what do you think?
Yeah, very likely.
Collecting unfiltered news tube service? Question mark. Sorry to interrupt.
I bet. While he's responding, I bet that when the AI thing was not developed by the government necessarily, but as soon as it was, I'm sure the government leapt on it, and all the secret, intelligence agencies and whoever just grabbed it, and they've probably advanced it, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ahead of what we can see, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Like everything.
But they're not going to, they'll never show us that. But probably the stuff we are seeing is maybe being developed by the companies, the private companies that are developing it. They're rolling it out, I bet.
Well, it's probably the military that developed it. It's just like the internet was developed by the ARPA before it was even DARPA, as far as I know. It was not that Berners-Lee guy. He's just the character. But anyway, okay, here we go. Here's an answer.
Okay.
Chuck that up.
It says, I think we're 20 years behind DARPA, but AI is now an overlord, and the Swedish companies are buying out all of the manufacturing, CNC machining, CAM processing. Okay.
20 years behind.
They've always said that, that the
Thank you.
tech we see is 20 years behind what they've got behind the scenes. That's always been said.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen,
sorry.
even... Oh, go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
Sorry, just to carry on. Keel knows that I want us to have a proper sort of whole episode about AI, because I'm sort of... part of me thinks it's going to be a really great opportunity for ordinary people, and part of me thinks that what we see at the moment is just totally retarded. And Keel and I had an interesting experience when we were doing our controlled deconstruction episode, that Keel was trying to get this AI to sort of fess up to the fact that there was some interesting evidence about the 9/11 scenario, and you were just struggling to get it to play ball. Yeah,
it was like pulling teeth to get it admit to things that it was they were clearly available information. And I've been thinking about that, my experience with that, and since then I have a bunch of more experience with the different AI characters, ChatGPT and Grok. And I'd like to take my questions because it was Gemini at the time that I was working with that. I want to take my questions that I gave to Gemini and see what I can get out of the other AI brains, and see what I can get out of that, because it'll be an interesting experiment, I think.
And I think that there have been there was Polly of the Amazing Polly was asking Grok who a certain CEO was. And I could be wrong here, but I believe that it was James O'Keefe's, what is it? It's O'Keefe Media Group. It's OMG. That is what he started after Project Veritas. And she was asking Grok, who was this CEO? And it kept lying. And she acknowledged it, called it out. It was said, okay, got it. And then she would go back, another time. And it did it every single time. So I think that's certainly a cautionary tale of if we think that they are 1984ing our information and knowledge now, it would be an incredible power to have to be able to remove that at just the click of a button everywhere,
I've had similar experiences with Grok and trying to get it to explain per capita. It was painful.
Well, it's why they're removing all the books from schools, because you can't edit a book.
Well,
not
to
well.
be fair, the kids can't read.
But it's all tablets. Everything's tablets. So, it's easy enough to just reach in. Oh, we'll just edit that page in history. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. So,
That's been a frustrating experience as a parent with a child coming up through elementary school right now, is that, they don't have any books. And not that me and my wife weren't expecting that they wouldn't have any books, because we know it's, a digital age. Everybody has laptops and stuff at school. But there was something I didn't anticipate or foresee, was that I want to be able to go over and read the material that the children are supposed to be learning from, and it's hard to do. They have online stuff, Google Slides, and resources online that they are kind of pulling from, but there's no central source that like we used to have when I was a kid. We had a math book, and we had a language arts book, and we had a history book. Those were the sources of things that we were learning from. But nowadays it's kind of scattered, and we don't really know, what to read, because it's not just right there, and that's been very frustrating. For us.
Total control.
And and that this concept applies all over the board. They're digitized. Everything's digital. Everything's on the cloud. So you don't own anything, and you can't control everything. Which
and you will be happy.
To say, buy physical media.
Yep.
Telling you.
Yeah. Definitely.
Everything. Buy books. Buy your movies on VHS tape, or 8mm film. Whatever you can do.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys know about the Kindle thing that just happened recently? Like last week, I think it was. Yeah. Bloody hell. Yeah. So you don't even own your downloads. Yep. Don't even own your downloads. And there's no point in just downloading everything anyway to zip drives or whatever, thumb drives or, hard drives, because it's only going to take one EMP and boom, everything's gone. So
it'll all be gone.
Back to the old pen and paper.
Yeah.
And learn how to write.
Terry, what do you have?
Coming in on that, I've spent the last few weeks trying to convert all my Kindle books to Mobies and EPUBs, which are DRM free, so I can read them on any digital device, but not physical media, I'm afraid, Keel. But I was going back to AI. I find it very intriguing how it can just sort of fantasize and make stuff up that's completely untrue. I don't know where it gets this from. I mean, we know that AI, most of the AI we're exposed to is basically just a sort of fancy Google, isn't it? It's just sort of searching through the internet and coming up with stuff. So I guess it doesn't really know how to distinguish between stuff that's real and stuff that's just made up. But it's quite extraordinary how you can ask it stuff and it will just make answers up that are completely
lies.
ridiculously untrue.
Yeah, you got to really pin it. You got to jab it and pin it down. I mean, the Leo, the free one on the Brave. Yeah, the Leo free one on the Brave browser, which I think you only get a few questions before you have to go away. But that thing stopped at the end of 19, bloody hell, where are we? What century are we in again? 2022, I think it was,
Who
November,
knows?
or it might have been 2021. But anyway, it has a cut-off date, basically. So it can only tell you stuff prior to that date, which is, end of 22, I think it was. I managed to get that out of it eventually because it totally... I asked it a question which was about weather, actually. It was about the UAE floods in last year. And it just completely lied to my face. And it was like, hang on a minute, what? And, eventually wriggled it out. It's like, oh, no, we'll see. Yeah, I've got this cut-off date. It's like, thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
So there you go. But that's just a free one. I mean, you pay for Grok, don't you? Or is that part of the
They all
X
have
deal, is
free
it?
It's part of
versions.
X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've all got a free version and a like a subscriber pay version that gives you the better quality.
Oh, that's the hip
glorified
version,
search
isn't
engine.
it? Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Stella, what story did you want to bring to the table here?
Well, speaking of weather, let's talk about the weather. Not really much. I was just going to say we're sort of in the middle of being hit by a bit of a cyclonic event, which doesn't normally go this far south. So, yeah, it's blowy out there. Yes, I was just
look
going
at
to show
that.
you very quickly. Here's a hurricane. Okay, so there's Australia. Can you see my cursor? No, you can't. Hang on a minute. Let me go to the actual tab. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Yep.
So there we've got
yeah.
They've got the, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so there's the track of the hurricane. And then it goes, whoop, 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 whoop. This is the projection. Let me just go in a little bit closer here. It's very strange. Now, just oh, God, sorry, hang on.
That's
A little bit over the top with the scroll wheel there. Sheesh.
I had a great uncle named Alfred.
Right.
He had a
Is
plane.
that the name of the store?
Yes. We're back to the beginning of the alphabet again. So here, see, look at the track here. This is natural. I just want to make this very clear. I don't believe that hurricanes or cyclones can be steered in any way, shape, or form. I used to think
hold
stuff
on,
like that.
hold on. You don't believe that George W. Bush caused this?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Like
We just
he
don't
did
know what
Katrina?
he could. Yeah, maybe it's Prince Philip. He changed his mind from being a virus and came back as a storm. But I don't know. It's just all, it does sort of make sense. I went off and sort of started learning a little bit about all this stuff because I wanted to be less ignorant about it all and just say, they're doing it, HARP's doing it. Because they don't. They don't
noble
have the
effort.
Yeah, well, they just don't have it's. They'd love you to think that they do, and that's why they love all the controversy and they encourage it because they want us all fighting and eyes off all the stuff that they should be, modifying to make things better, like jet fuel.
It is more fun that way.
Well, it is. It was fun at the time. But anyway, so like I'm here in Lismore. So we're getting we're copying a fair bit. It goes around the opposite way in the south hemisphere, by the way. Oh God, what have I done? Anyway,
So
that's
what I was gonna ask Stella. So this is a pretty normal for this time of year. Unfortunate location because of some previous issues that you may want to get into, but you're saying like as far as strength and landfall and time of year and all that stuff, it's pretty normal.
Well, it is still monsoonal season, so yes, but can you see? You can see this, can't you? Yep. The monsoon usually sort of hangs around up here, up the top end, they call it. We've had a couple of cyclones here lately, but it doesn't. Well, sometimes they're out here and whatever, but it's just this is so much further south than usual. But you've got the what do they call it? I can never remember the name of it, but the middle bit. Intercontinental convergence zone or something. And that's all sort of pretty wild at the moment because we are in a few maximum. There's a lot going on, like atmospherically at the moment with sun and all sorts of stuff, polar regions. So it's no surprise everything's a bit chaotic. But anyway, but then there's the other thing is their projections. They really do milk these things. They love to get as much as possible. I'm going to go back You can stop sharing me now, please. Yeah, they just like to get as much as possible out of an event, to scare everybody. And the other thing was that because the floods happened 3 years ago, it's 3 years ago almost to the day, actually, that the two Lismore floods happened. And it wasn't just Lismore, it was everywhere.
Oh, wow.
It was really bad, but it really wiped out a lot of towns, including Lismore. That was straight after Hungatonga. So, I mean, Hungatonga put so much moisture, something like an extra 30% globally into the atmosphere. So that has a lot to do with a lot of the flooding and things that have been happening as well. People haven't really done a lot to connect that, but it's definitely a huge factor. So, hey, Terry?
I have a very geeky technical question for you as our weather girl, Stella. They're calling it a cyclone. My understanding is that Pacific hurricanes are called typhoons. Why is this called a cyclone? I thought cyclones were only in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what.
The Indian Ocean, maybe.
Yeah, can I just share this screen again? I'll just show you where it came from. Came from up here. And let me just go back a bit. So it starts up here in the tropics. I think that's the Coral Sea there, actually.
So maybe it did start in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, where does that start? I'm not sure where that exactly starts. That's the Coral Sea
maybe
there,
it did start
I believe.
in the Indian Ocean. Yeah.
Coral Sea Island territories. I'm not sure exactly where the Indian Ocean actually starts there. My geography sucks. I was not there that day at all.
It is, yeah.
So even my Australian geography sucks. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So we're going to get hit tomorrow, basically. That's going to be the worst. And, it should be fun. Wow. Hopefully the townspeople, everyone's pretty much scooted out of town. So they're really going to a lot of effort to make sure that, that everybody's safe this time. Because they didn't last time. Many people died.
I hope that it's not a repeat of that. And, you and I had talked about there was a lot of overlap with some of the disasters that we've had here in the States in the treatment after the fact, and kind of like how people were managed, how they were helped or were not helped. So I just hope that it doesn't come to that, what it did last time.
It was very much like, it was similar to North Carolina. Just watching all that, it was like, in fact, I think North Carolina was a lot worse, really. But it was a similar, the aftermath was very, very similar. It was like a repeat. And I suppose really sort of the fires to a point, but not so much. So yeah, it was like it was up to the townspeople in their tinnies, the little runabouts to save people.
And for all you flat earthers out there, how do you explain the fact that cyclonic storms go around the other way down in the southern hemisphere than they do in the northern hemisphere? Hey, go on.
How do we know they're spinning in different directions? Huh?
How do we know it's a globe?
Well, you can see. No.
I'm not a flat earther, but I don't really care.
Wind spinning around.
You don't think that they have projections that they can put out into the skies and make you think that you're seeing a backwards tornado like some kind of retarded person? Come on now, Terry. Not doing that.
Holographic hurricane.
These globetards, I don't even know anymore.
Yep. How do we even know?
It's not a globe anyway. It's an oblate spheroid. So there you go.
There you go.
That, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true.
Very true.
Well,
Very
Stella
true.
would have to be a hologram as well, wouldn't she?
I believe I am. Yes.
They wouldn't tell her. They wouldn't tell her.
They could power me down at any second.
For all we know, she's been severed.
I actually just this morning, just by chance, I found this. It's a measuring unit by NASA, and it's called a StellaQ. It's so
interesting.
weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What more proof do you need that we're in the simulation?
Yeah,
0.
I know. It's such a ridiculous concept. However, I just cannot write it off. I cannot write it off.
Do you know
Does
when
that
it?
mean you're a NASA shield, Stella?
Well,
Never
what
a
I
stellar
want to know,
answer.
do you know when that term was coined? Because she could be a Nazi shill.
Well, I
Because
should
we
have
all know-
trademarked it, and I could
We
sue
all know
NASA.
where the Space Department came from.
Yeah, little Operation Paperclip.
That's right.
Indeed. Yeah.
There we
Donna
go.
Brown.
Jason.
One measurement of
Oh,
Stella
God
Q
bless
equals
there, Stella.
1 unit of
Yeah.
awesome.
Fucking got him.
Checks in
That's
the
a
mail,
big
mate.
fan you have there.
All right, hey, Ism Can't.
Love ya.
Let's hear what your wacky story is.
Oh boy.
Well, I don't have too much. Just as we discussed on Discord, I thought it might be fun for you to officially announce your run for head of Georgia Libertarian Party. Woo!
What? Who, me?
Yay!
I thought I already was the head.
Well, so your hand was on the head and you were stroking it. That's something completely different.
Oh, okay. I do make that mistake.
Sorry,
I
children.
get very confused when that's
Not a
happening.
nice image.
But I just thought it'd be a fun place to make your announcement. Because otherwise we're going to have that Chase Oliver faggot.
Yeah.
So are you going to give the explanation of what
He is a bit of a
happened to
faggot.
Chase Oliver?
Yeah, what happened to Chase Oliver?
Did something
What
happen
happened to Chase
after he got less votes than Gary Johnson and Bill Weld?
Well, just I think didn't you share that he had applied again to be the nominee for the Libertarian Party and he lost?
I did not. That must have been someone else. I don't follow LP politics.
Huh.
Talk
Wasn't
about
he
fake and gay.
There was something about him.
You do, because you shared it and you tagged Keel and you told Keel that he should run. So yes,
yeah,
you
but
do.
I thought that was for the Libertarian Party, like the grand one, not just the Georgia one. Or did I?
No, I don't
misread that
know.
article also.
I only read the headline.
This is a
I think.
post from our friend Stu.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Stu posted it.
We've been informed
Wow,
that
there's
Chase
a lot of
Oliver,
misinformation
yeah,
and
Chase Oliver will be
disinformation going
running
on
for
here.
chair.
Well, hey, all you people out there, the libertarians that have the ability to vote for such a thing, you can write my name in if you want. If I
Vote
get a
for
letter in
Keels.
the mail saying I'm the new chair of the Libertarian Party, hey, cool. I'll put that up on my fridge.
Can I
And
bring
you
my own
spelled
chair?
that. You spelled that VIKINGKEELTHOR.
What?
Sure.
That's too much
Like-
brain work, man.
It's
Kill
Kill
Viking
Thor.
Um,
Write in Kill Thor. They'll know who you mean.
King Kilthorpe. Keel, are you the guy that writes in Monica Perez in all your election votes? Or was that Perm?
I think that's
no,
Perm.
I think that was
Yeah,
Perm
that was
that did
Perm.
that, yeah.
Shut up, Pim.
I've written in Ron Paul before. Or,
Fucking-
you know.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Wasn't
Lucky.
there a cactus running at some point? I mean, it probably would have done a better
Cactus.
job than Biden.
I
Prickly
mean-
president.
Potted
I don't
plant.
know. I didn't hear that. Potted
That
plant.
was a few years back.
I think
There was a guy.
Yeah.
There was a story.
We had a dead person voted in once, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we did.
Well, they're all getting welfare, so why not?
I read a story about a
Yeah.
guy who changed his name to none of the above, like legally changed it so that it would appear as none of the above on the ballot. And
That's great.
I can't remember if he won or not, but it was a good try anyway.
That's
Well,
That's a
hilarious.
genius move.
One of my
Honest-
close friends, he changed his name to Winfield Blue for years, and then changed it back to his real name, and then changed it back to Winfield Blue again. It's very
He
strange.
was in his
I
Prince
don't know that
era.
one.
Ism, Jason wants to know, what does the golden pager say since you are in the Oval Office
The
there?
Oval Office.
I'm not
What
entirely
you've
sure
done with
what
the
the
place.
golden pagers. Thank you.
The golden pager was a gift from Bibi Netanyahu to President Trump.
Netanyahu, yeah.
See, I think there's some
Ticking bomb.
confusion here because
the
as
C4, no doubt.
well, as the president of your mom, I fucked Ivanka, and now I'm just kind of chilling here at the Oval Office. I was surprised no one was here. That's kind of like, I got a podcast to record. I'll just sit down, have a good time.
Just put up your feet.
Yep.
Justin is putting the Resolute into the Resolute desk.
Are you're just sitting on the coffee table there, I guess?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. Sciatica. You know how it is.
Yeah.
The couches do look comfy. Jason says he thinks that he suspects that it says send more bombs, and I think that that's probably pretty accurate, and that someone needs to send a cleaning crew to the Lincoln bedroom. Probably also accurate.
And on that note, do they change out the couches in between presidents? Because
I think they would have after Clinton. Definitely.
That was exactly what I was getting at.
Oh, okay.
I bet.
One can hope.
I bet that every president that comes in, they say, hey, what do you want? They get to pick their furnishings, I'm sure, to a certain degree.
Oh, they do.
I bet Clinton's couch went down to Epstein's Island.
Oh, sure.
He
came from there.
Children smuggled inside of it.
Yeah.
I have an interesting fact to share. Trump is not apparently using the Resolute desk at the moment because Musk's son damaged it during his visit, so they had to swap it out.
What a dick!
Wow.
He wiped his little boogers on there.
Nasty.
That's
Kids are
exactly
gross.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Germaphobe.
They
so.
are.
I was hoping you'd say it was a poo painting.
It was a weird
Would have been
thing.
fun.
Why would Elon the whole Elon Musk Trump bromance is weird in and of itself,
isn't it? Yeah.
And then Elon is like toting around one of his Franken babies,
13 children
out of the 14.
14.
And
I mean, everyone has their favorites, right? Like your parents tell you. Your parents tell you that they don't have favorites, but we all know that they have a favorite.
It's good. Yeah, he's got his favorite
apparently
clone.
This little X Ash Aeon, whatever the little robot guy's name is, that's the one that he takes with him everywhere. And it's weird because he does have 13 other children and it's one little guy. And what are you doing with the little guy in the Oval Office? And then much less, like, why are you letting him wipe his boogers on Trump's desk? That's weird.
I mean,
he's got 14 children. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think with 14
many,
different
many
women.
Yeah.
No,
I don't think it was 14. It's like
no, there was a couple.
mean,
there was a set of twins in there somewhere.
So he was
he
was married to his first wife, and they had 3 children from likely IVF, and I think at least it was like twins or triplets. And then he has 2 with Grimes. I can't think of whatever her first name is, but anyway. And then he has like several other. No, it's not just Grimes. It's something else.
Ashley.
But
Ashley Grimes.
No. It's not coming to me right now. But anyway, so it turns out after the whole kerfuffle with Ashley St. Clair, who was a conservative Zionist influencer, and she came out to say that they had a baby together and that she was making it public to try to prevent the press from coming in to scoop it. Whatever. That's when there was a lot of speculation kind of comparing Elon to like a Jeffrey Epstein-like eugenicist, very Brave New World, because Epstein had Zora Ranch and he apparently had an idea or a plan to inseminate all these women with his seed, and people started making comparisons of Elon Musk about this because he has several different baby mamas and 13 children at that time, but somebody just came out last week and said that she had one with him as well, which would put that number up to 14. There's also a rumor that he ended up having a botched penis implant and that he could not naturally help to conceive a child. So all of his children are IVF. That's the rumor.
Yeah, there's definitely test tubes involved.
Or
for
androids.
sure. They're probably all
Or
pre-Neuralink.
androids.
Here's the thing about Elon Musk and having a bunch of different kids, though. I think everyone's just confused because his skin color is white. He is an African American, so it's kind of par for the course that he's gonna have a bunch of different baby mamas. It's his culture.
Yeah, true. It's like a tribe.
Don't judge someone just solely based on their culture. That's pretty fucked up, and that's what leads to Holocausts. And
I don't think he'll be stopping anytime soon either. He's going to build a whole community. He's going to implant Mars with all his little clones.
Sure.
Do you think he plays that Queen song, Can't Stop Me Now, as he's replicating?
Don't stop me now.
Through mitosis. All right. Are we about done here?
I'm completely done.
We've gone past the hour.
Yeah, I need to get to bed.
Yeah, we got to go to bed and eat dinner and do other things, our nightly routines.
I've got to go and have a
Although
cyclone.
Stella, you gotta.
Not that we didn't enjoy doing this, viewers and listeners.
We love
Just
it.
make sure you wash your
Really
hands
love it.
after you're done with your activities tonight, Keel.
Yes, that's important. And important, Stella, stay dry. Make sure you get extra umbrellas out, and maybe get a little one for Stumpy.
Stella,
Yes,
do
a
you have
little
to stand on your umbrella for it to work? How does that work down under?
Umbrella?
Yeah, wouldn't you have to
What's an
stand off?
umbrella?
Parasol, whatever you call it down there.
Since you're upside down, I don't know. It's all confusing.
Yeah, look, when we turn the tap on, we ends up in our face. Stumpy is very, very quickly.
Yes, go on. Yeah.
Stumpy is my eastern water dragon who has adopted me, actually. But he's got his little family now. His wife is getting a little bit jealous, so he sort of doesn't tend to spend quite as much time with me anymore. He's got the kids running around in the front yard. I bought them a really nice bath because there was just this plastic thing that I put, because I thought, water dragons, they probably need water. And
They
there's
need
not
some
really,
water.
not really pools around here. So I just put a little plastic thing there, and man, have they been enjoying it. So then I thought, hang on, this is worth an investment. I'm going to revamp their bathroom. I'm going to get them a little fridge and a telly. But I got this nice pottery bath for them, and they're loving it. So they don't care about the cyclone. They're just in there splish splashing. The kids, everything. It's great. They love it. I get so much joy from my
It's
lizard.
like some children's television program going on down there. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
me and Ash watch Ants Canada. You might have a multi-billion-dollar industry here, Stella.
It's true.
Yeah.
You got to turn up the drama. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
I haven't seen my
we
Eastern
need to
water
get
dragon
Stumpy their
in
own
its
YouTube
bath in a
channel.
week. Go ahead, Terry. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, we need to get Stumpy his own YouTube channel, don't we, really? He'd probably do a lot better than we do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There is actually a little movie on my channel of Stumpy. It needs to be a part 2 before he completely rejects me. But I actually, just on the topic of Stumpy, I often catch grasshoppers for him because there's no shortage of grasshoppers, and some of them are just like mothers. They're huge. And so it's like, oh, there's a meal, so I'll put it aside. And sometimes I don't see him for 2 or 3 days, and I've got to try to keep these hoppers alive and, keep them from, because, he won't eat dead ones. So I had these really big ones. Like one was like the width of my hand. It was ridiculous. And I had 3 of them, and I didn't see him. And then the cyclone happened and he wasn't interested. And then the magpies weren't interested. So I just chucked them over the neighbour's fence because they've got such a nice garden and they must have been very hungry. So,
Jeez.
There you go.
And I don't like my neighbour at all. So there you go.
Right.
Now they know how much you don't like them.
So Stumpy's Stumpy's surviving on handouts, basically. He's kind of like on state benefits.
Yes. He's a very, very healthy lizard. Let's just put it that way. Yep, he gets the gourmet
awesome.
handouts. I'm his slave.
We
He
all
appears.
love
I bring
your
worms.
little pictures and videos you give us.
We're
on
all
Discord.
slave to the lizards at the end of the day,
Yes.
aren't we?
Slave to
story.
the lizard. Yes, we are.
All right, gang. I want to thank Ashley and Stella and Ismkant and Terry Canary for your news and insights. I want to thank our listeners and our viewers in the chat and all of the millions of listeners that will download this podcast in the future. And speaking of our listeners, Ashley, how can they get in touch with the Union of the Unknowns?
Well, Keel, I'm glad that you asked. They can find us at our website, unionoftheunknowns.com. That's our Linktree page with all the myriad ways to get in touch with us, from Discord to Twitter to Gmail and beyond. Please feel free to do so. Back to you, Keel.
Thank you for
Feel
that.
free to send homing pigeons as well my way. That'd be good.
Yeah.
This
And,
is it in
yeah,
bottles.
hate mail for Ismkant. We're
Yeah.
still
And don't
waiting on
forget-
that.
Don't forget to cast your Libertarian Party vote for Keel for the state of Georgia.
This guy right here. I'll take it. I won't do anything, but I'll take it anyway.
That's,
I would vote
All
for
right,
you.
guys.
That's literally all we want.
this is the guy then you need. All right, guys.
Fucking Keel
we
for
are
president of the United States. I'm gonna do
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
we are the Union of the Unknowns, and we are out.
Good night,
Love you,
everyone.
guts.
Not Your Mama's News has been a production of the Union of the Unknowns podcast. New episodes are available weekly on all your favorite podcasting networks.